Hi, I'm Rosie Lowe, and this is The Hardest Part.
Hello, and welcome to The Hardest Part, the show that unravels the stories behind the most challenging songs ever written. I'm Kieron Banerji, and joining me in the studio on this episode is Rosie Lowe. When I sat down with her to discuss her song Gratitudes, she shared the intense journey behind its creation. The track came to life during a session in Berlin with her collaborator and co-producer DeMonk. It was their last night working together, and just as they were about to head out and meet some friends, they stumbled upon a drum pattern that sparked an instant connection. Rosie described how the excitement built quickly as they worked on the track, dubbing things out on their analog desk and creating an incredible energy in the studio. But that excitement was short-lived. After a night out, they returned to find out that the electricity had cut out, and with it, they lost the entire session on the MPC 3000. Rosie explained how challenging it was to try and recreate the magic of that lost moment. They attempted to rebuild the track multiple times, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't capture the same feeling. Eventually, they had to let go of the original idea and embrace creating something entirely new. It was a process of accepting what had happened and finding a way to move forward, which turned into a lesson not just in music, but in life. Rosie shared that Gratitudes became not only a reflection of that experience, but also a broader expression of where she is in her life and career. Content, grateful, and ready to embrace the process, even when it doesn't go as planned. The song is a moment of saying thank you for everything she's learned and experienced along the way. Make sure to stay tuned to hear Gratitudes in full at the end of this episode, but before then, here's my chat with Rosie.
So the song I've picked is called Gratitudes, and it's a song that came about in Berlin. I was working with DeMonk, who's a collaborator and friend and co-producer on the album. And we were working there. I was there for a week or so, and it was on my last night of working there, and we were going out to meet some friends. And just before we left the studio, we'd been working on another song all day, and DeMonk had his MPC 3000, and we'd been kind of like playing loads of records, and he had this really nice kind of drum pattern, and he started playing it out, and basically I got really excited. I was like, oh, this is the one, like this is really exciting. So he built it, and we had, honestly, like the time was going down, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I was really excited about it. And we, working with analog, we had a desk, so we were dubbing things out, and it felt like so good. And then we left, and we were like vibing, we were like woohoo, and we went out for a number of hours, went back to his, and the electricity had cut out.
Oh no.
And on an MPC 3000, we lost the file, basically. So anyone who knows who's made music, a lot of the time, recreating something that comes, it's about an energy and it's about a feeling.
Yeah.
So it took us a really long time to try. We just tried so many things to try and recreate that feeling and try and remember what it felt like, And it got to the point, I think we were on like a 6th version of like trying to create this feeling, and we just couldn't get there. And I was so gutted because I was so excited, and I had this melody going around in my head, and I just knew exactly kind of what I wanted to do with it in the moment. So at one point we just had to give in and create a new feeling for where we were at the moment. And it was kind of a lot about relenting at that point and being like, okay, we've lost that moment. That is what that was. And then we recreated a new moment. So that was where the song came from. I find that really hard. It's happened before in my life as well, that I've thought I've bounced something and I haven't, and I've lost a hard drive or whatever.
No.
And it's so hard because you have this idea of what something was, and it's so hard to recreate. It's also about gratitudes, and I think that lyrically and thematically it's very much a moment where I'm at in my life. I think at this point in my musical career, I'm like really happy and really happy in kind of where I'm at and the process, and just really enjoying myself. So it's kind of like my moment of saying thank you for that.
I see the setting sun every time I choose to see the rivers run, to watch the fading moon. So easy to regret and feel all shades of blue.
We'll dive into the lyrics a little bit later, but how do you get through that? You know, you come home, the electricity's gone, lost it. Huge element of disappointment, I imagine, and it's going to be pretty hard to create any decent energy out of that sort of disappointment. What's the stage one, or what do you do? How do you try and get that energy back?
I don't think you can in hindsight. I mean, we tried, and you know, it's even like how the filter opens up on the Juno, on the MPC, it's like so specific to the moment, and we were buzzing. And I really remember the feeling. We were like jumping around the room, like so excited about it. I think you have to, we used the same concept, but of building it in the MPC, of, you know, the same drum sounds. But I personally don't think that you can create the same moment as you felt in that moment. And the only thing that really can create that is the music that's made in that.
So you had to completely form a whole new sort of energy with the same inspiration maybe, but it had to take a different form.
Yeah, it had to. We tried so many times to just like recreate it, but we just agreed like it just wasn't happening. And we were almost like too focused on what was instead of kind of leaning into what is. And I think that it's a good lesson in life, I guess, of like just
Command S.
Exactly.
Save.
Yeah, and also like sometimes, you know, backspace.
Yeah, or backspace,
Delete and just like move on. It's fine. It is what it is. And you know, what we've created is something different. I'm not saying that I don't think about what we did create sometimes. Like that's happened before as well, and it's like, oh, I wish I had that. But also when you're working with analog gear, that is just part of the beauty, you know? You might have an amazing synth sound and you can't save it.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to recreate that every time, and what you can create next time might be more exciting. Like, you just don't know.
I remember when I was first working in studios, and I was working with a guy, an engineer, and it was beautiful. I had this beautiful Neve VR desk. It was gorgeous. And he was like, the best thing you'll ever learn in the studio is just the discipline of just Command S, bounce down, save, bounce down, save, bounce down, save. Because he was like, otherwise you're going to drive yourself mad in this room.
It's so true.
Disappointment,
It's so true. I've got a lot better at it since this, and I will never go out again without bouncing something down and saving it to my Dropbox.
How many hard drives do you have now?
Actually, not enough.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm endlessly chaotic with my backing up.
Maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe you need to get some hard drives.
Yeah, maybe. But then I'll just lose them.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably never enough backing up. But I also kind of think if something does get erased, then maybe there's a reason for that. And what you are going to then create is the thing that's most supposed to exist.
Yeah.
You know, and like that memory of it is like almost maybe like more special in a way.
Of course, yeah. So you mentioned you in Berlin. I'm always curious, why did you pick Berlin to make this record in?
When I started this album, I decided that I wanted to be able to travel anywhere I went and kind of respond to my surroundings. So I made like a studio in a bag, in a little suitcase, with just a few bits of equipment that I really wanted. And I travelled around to Spain and Berlin and Florence and London, Sri Lanka. Like I just took it everywhere I went. I wanted to be able to respond to wherever I was that day if I felt like it. I didn't want to put like pressure on myself being like, right, I'm going into a soundproof room now and I'm going to write an album. I just wanted to kind of keep it a lot more loose. So I started that in Spain, and then I met DeMonk lived in Berlin. I'm a huge, I would love to live in Berlin one day. I just think it's the best place ever.
Fantastic city, isn't it?
It's so amazing. And music is at its core, It's like, I love Berlin.
Just the way people handle themselves in Berlin is just also extremely comforting, I find. I think it's an extremely warm city, which is, a lot of people are very surprised to hear that, right? Like, people are no bullshit, they're honest, they're sincere, and just cool shit's getting done all the time. And that's kind of just like its USP, I think.
And I think people are really open-minded there as well. Of course, really up for, open ears. Yeah. So DeMonk lived there. I was working with Harvey Grant, who's my other collaborator on this album. And he played me some of DeMonk's music that was unreleased. And I was like, that guy.
He's the one.
I've got to work with him. He's amazing. So Harvey introduced us, and DeMonk, enjoyed what he was hearing. So I went out to Berlin to work with him and Harvey, and then later on just DeMonk a few times as well. So that's what brought me to Berlin that time.
I'm also super interested to find out what was it you were hearing in DeMonk's music and production that you were particularly inspired by?
I think a lot of it is analog. Yeah. I think he's an MPC wizard. He has the very core comes from a similar place to mine in terms of rhythm, sounds, quite organic. I think we're definitely inspired by a lot of the same music. Now I know we share a lot of the same records, and he's also like a crate digger, and you can kind of hear that in his sound. I think that his production sounds like him, and I'm always interested to work with people who have a sound, and a sound that I feel like would work well with mine. So he just excited me. I always want to work with people who excite me.
Sing my daily gratitude. I'm so lucky I know. Sing my daily
So when you're collaborating with someone for the first time, how does that process look like for you?
It would be different with DeMonk to, say, Harvey Grant, my other collaborator. That he's like, Harvey's the most phenomenal keys organ player. Usually it starts from a harmonic place a lot of the time. Or, one of the songs on the album is called Don't Go, and that was, I had this voice note and I was like, today we're going to reharmonize this. And he has like such a good understanding of harmony, so I knew that I wanted to do that with him. But with DeMonk, I would come a lot of the time with an idea, and then we would just, get the equipment on and play. I think is a really important part. Also, I'd never really meet someone and just go into the studio. It's like coffee, lunch, coffee, maybe some wine, hanging out for a few days.
Berlin is pretty hard to...
But I mean, anywhere. Like, I think that I really need to kind of get deep with the person before I'm going to get in the studio with them. And then once that legwork's done, in a way, it just makes everything else that much easier, because there's trust there and there's vulnerability, and Well,
that's the other thing, right? Vulnerability and understanding what inspires someone, understanding how their emotions kind of reflect in their work, I think is that quality. I always say this to when I work with producers or even engineers, is like that emotional intelligence is so much, people need to put more weighting on it, because when you understand someone on that level, you can just create with someone in a different way.
Absolutely. And it is such a vulnerable process, and almost always whatever we've been discussing that day or the day before that will work its way into the music, even subconsciously.
Let's pick back up on the lyrics. So you said that, they're a reflection of sort of where you are in your life now and on your musical journey. What did that process for writing these lyrics look like? Where did they come from?
They just came out of me. I think that, like, my morning ritual is something I'm quite passionate about.
Okay, what's your morning ritual?
Usually, I've had a child in the last year, so it's changed a bit.
Yeah.
But previous to that, and especially if I've ever been kind of spiraling down or feeling down or anxious or struggling with my mental health in any capacity, it involves breath work, which is my version of meditation. Some exercise, like either a run or some Pilates or something, and saying my morning gratitudes. And it's not just morning gratitudes, I do it also if I'm in bed feeling anxious, like that. So I don't count sheep, I count gratitudes, really.
Nice.
And I feel that it actually like lifts me.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to, especially with social media, and we're quite, look outwards at what we don't have, and, or what was, or what we could have done differently, or whatever. And I think that for me, it's really important just to look at the really simple things that I'm grateful for, whether that be like the sunshine or waking up and not having a bad back today.
Yeah.
Or, having two parents alive. Like things that we take for granted. Because a lot of the time, if I get ill, I'm like, why wasn't I more grateful for my health yesterday? And I think it's so easy to take things for granted. So it's become a really important part of my daily ritual. And that is one that's continued into parenthood as well.
How's your creative process changed since you've had a kid?
I think it's improved because there's so much less time that you have to, really kind of focus. I sometimes can't believe that I used to have 7 days a week to myself and what did I do with all that time? I haven't been in a creative process as such as writing since I've had him, my boy. But what I have done so far is been a lot more focused. And I think boundaries and limitations, I think all of that stuff helps my musical output and creativity and stuff. So I'm excited about doing it with these other things going on. And in terms of meditation and stuff and being present in the moment, I've always worked quite hard at trying to learn how to do that more. But, when you've got a kid, you have to be present. It's the best kind of way to put you in the present moment as possible. Because if you're not present, it's miserable for both parties.
Yeah. With anything in life, probably.
Yeah.
So I always finish these interviews by asking the artist the same question. And this is one of my favourite questions to ask any artist. And it came from this place where a band I really like released a record. And I was on a plane and I was downloaded it, offline downloaded it. I was really looking forward to listening to it. And I must have just had in my feed some other automatic downloads, and it was a complete chance it happened. I listened to the record and I thought, I don't like that one bit. They've missed, and I just didn't enjoy it. Then it flipped onto another podcast about the making of that song, and the singer is putting out going through these extremely nuanced parts of the song. And I listened back to it afterwards, and it changed it forever. And I think it's now my favourite song of theirs.
Oh.
And I always like to ask every artist, we're about to hear the strip back session you did for us just earlier. Is there anything you want the listener to specifically listen out to for that's going to change the way they experience the song?
It would be lyrically. In there I talk about how, a lot of the time I look back at things or wish that I'd done more or have a cynical eye on things, but it's really down to self-protection. And I think a lot of us do that, and it comes from a loving place. But I think for me, leaning into the present and kind of what I am doing and giving has really helped me be happier in life. So I guess just lyrically, maybe thinking about how that relates to other people would be the one.
Rosie Lowe, thank you for joining us on The Hardest Part.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
see the setting sun every time I choose to see the rivers run, to watch the fading moon. So easy to regret and feel all shades of blue. So often I forget to say my daily gratitude. I need to say my daily gratitude. You need to say your daily gratitude. I'm so lucky I say my daily. How much time I waste from going round the shit I didn't do. But maybe I'm just scared when my glass is half full. I guess it's self-protect, but I know just what to do. I need to manifest and to shift my naked attitude. I need to say my daily gratitude. You need to say your daily gratitude. I'm so lucky I know. Say my daily gratitude. I'm so lucky I know. Say my daily, say my daily gratitude. I'm so lucky.
Now make sure to subscribe and follow The Hardest Part wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all other major streaming platforms. This episode of The Hardest Part was recorded at the Thin White Duke Studios in London, Soho. It was recorded by Max Walker and is mixed and produced by myself. Photos from today's session are by Dylan Roberts and Callum Baker. And additional videography is by Giovanni Alamonti. Thanks for tuning in.